Now, it's my fault because I didn't do my research because
Today is all about hair and salon setbacks. Let's dive in.
My very first lesson is to take out your weaves or braids if they are too tight. I say this because I think I've experienced maybe 3 or 4 setbacks where my setbacks stemmed from not removing a tight hairstyle. So if you get a weave in your hair or you get braids in your hair and they're just entirely too tight, take them out. I know it's gonna feel painful because you probably spent a lot of money, but I promise you it's not worth it. Back when I got my very first weave with the closure, I love the weave. It was beautiful. It looked awesome. It looked great, but it was entirely too tight around my edges. I left that weave in for only 2 weeks because I had a wedding and then I was going on vacation. And the minute I removed that weave, my edges went with the weave. Like no edges whatsoever. In fact, that was what kind of made me embark on a hair growth journey. And funny enough, after my edges regrew from that incident, I had a follow-up incident where I went and got braids and the braids were mad expensive. And because I didn't want to part from the coin that I spent on those braids, I left the braids in, and literally 3 days after having those braids in, the braid that was right here fell out, gone. Complete bald spot. And so I say this all to say, if you get a style that is too tight, you either need to remove it or run the risk of losing your edges or causing irreparable damage to your hair follicles. My second lesson is to vet and research your hairstylist before you go and sit in their chair. Now, I've experienced quite a few setbacks with regards to like seeing different hairstylists, and truth be told, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm partially at fault because I didn't do my research. I didn't look to see who their clientele is, look to see what kind of services they specialize in, and ultimately what resulted from seeing hairstylists that don't typically deal with my hair is you end up with broken hair, or you end up with like shorter hair, or you end up with something that you didn't bargain for. You want to make sure that you are thoroughly vetting your hairstylist, thoroughly researching, seeing what kind of clientele they have. Are their clients mainly natural? Are they relaxed? You want to do all your research. I say this because it kind of reminds me of when I first went natural. It took me about 2 years to grow out a perm, and I finally cut out all my perm and my hair was thriving back in, I don't know, this was like 2006 or something like that. My hair was like beautiful. And 2 years later, I decided, you know what, I want to start wearing my hair straight because I had been rocking braids, box braids, for a very long time. And so I found a hairstylist who did bomb presses. Like I'm saying, like all of her clients had bomb silky straight hair, and at that time I wanted really bomb silky straight hair. And so I went to her not knowing that a lot of her clients were actually relaxed. And so for the first few like appointments that I had, she flat ironed my hair, got my hair super flowy and bouncy and lovely, and you know, it was great. By the third appointment, she kind of was telling me about how my hair was wear and tear and how I needed to get a relaxer or a texturizer to prevent my hair from essentially breaking off. Now, it's my fault because I didn't do my research, because she had basically recommended, hey, in order to prevent this wear and tear and to prevent your hair from breaking off, you should probably get a texturizer. Any normal person would probably have researched what a texturizer is and would have probably found out that it's an under-processed relaxer. I didn't do any of that. And so I allowed her to give me a texturizer, and shortly after, my hair pretty much broke off because I didn't know how to take care of my hair and a texturizer. I say this all to say, had I done my research at the very beginning, I would have known she specializes in chemically processed hair and her clientele consists of people with relaxed and texturized hair. I probably would have selected another hairstylist that specialized in doing natural hair. I wouldn't have had to go through a second natural hair journey to get rid of chemically processed relaxed hair. So do your research on your stylist. Make sure that the stylist that you pick understands what your hair goals are. Pick a stylist whose services and practices align with your goal and vision for your hair. Okay, my next lesson is to know your hair. This is very important because there are times when you go to a hair salon where people attempt to implement certain techniques or utilize products that don't traditionally work for your hair. So if you know your hair, you can educate your hairstylist on your hair before they get to styling it, and you can avoid any setbacks from that. And I usually let them know in advance. I kind of like have a whole conversation around like, what do you normally use? How do you traditionally like go about washing people's hair? Do you section off your hair and things like that? Simply because my hair doesn't respond well to certain products, one. And two, most stylists like to wash people's hair loosely. My hair doesn't take well to that. Like if you wash my hair loosely, it will tangle up, and detangling or maneuvering or manipulating my hair will be a complete nightmare. And so before I get into anybody's seat, I make sure that I have a conversation with that stylist, and then I educate them about my hair. That way we don't run into any hiccups when we go to the salon, first of all, and then secondly, my hair isn't getting damaged in the process. My fourth lesson, which kind of goes hand in hand with the last two lessons, is to speak up. Do not be afraid to speak up. It actually goes well with the first one too. For example, if your hair feels tight when it's being installed, let the stylist know at that time, hey, the braid is too tight or the weave is too tight. That way you're saving yourself money, time, and potential sorrow from your hair being manipulated in a way that might adversely affect your hair. Now, I know that it can feel very nerve-wracking to speak up, but I promise you, if you do it in a respectful way, or if you do it before you even get into the seat, you win. Right? Because then that way the stylist isn't being caught off guard, and you're educating them about your hair so that they themselves can make a decision as to whether they want to do your hair because you do come with these particular set of rules, or B, they already have that knowledge ahead of time, and so they now know how to work with your hair. So yeah, speak up. You're paying for the service. It is your hair. If you experience any adverse effects, that will be on you. So my recommendation is to speak up. You know, be polite, be respectful, but speak up. My last and final lesson is for people who wear weaves with leave out. If you wear a leave out, please, please, please use hair extensions that match your hair texture. So if you prefer to wear your hair kind of on the straighter side, go for that kinky straight hair. If you are like more of a curly hair, do the kinky curly texture, because my leave out has suffered so much in the past because I wanted to rock the silky straight or looser wave type weaves that didn't blend so well with my hair. And so I was flat ironing and flat ironing to get my hair to blend, and the result is super straight. I mean, if you don't care about your hair being heat damaged or heat trained or whatever people want to call it these days, that's perfectly fine. But if you do care about your hair looking uniform, I highly recommend you stick to hair textures that work with your actual natural hair texture. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have lessons, please drop them down below. We got to learn from each other. I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.